Hello and welcome to TA for Traders. It's Friday the 29th of September. I'm Nigel Croft. In this video we'll be looking at the charts on 2 UK stocks and 2 US stocks. In the UK we'll look first at Royal Dutch Shell, and then we'll look at Hurricane Energy, and in the US we'll look at Costar, which last night had a secondary. It was quite large, £750 million secondary, that priced at 260, a 2.3% discount to Thursday's close. And then finally in the US, we'll continue our look at the technology sector, looking at Microsoft. Let's look at those charts. Okay, so we're starting with Royal Dutch Shell, and you can see on the weekly, now here each candle represents 1 week that we're breaking to the upside. We found support from the rising 20 and the 50-day moving average, and we've moved above both of those. What we'll see in a week or two on the weekly is the 20 crossing the 50, which would be a golden cross, because that 50 still will be moving up, so that would be a positive sign. There's slight resistance up at the £24 level, but I would expect that to be broken in the medium term. On this weekly chart, you can see momentum is strong. We're in an uptrend on the RSI, and presently the RSI is at 62.28, and you can also see that the MACD have just gone above zero, and they're flashing a buy signal on this weekly as the short term goes above the longer term. Looking at the daily, obviously we've had a good couple of weeks. You can see that the 20 has just crossed the 200 both moving in an upward direction, which is a golden cross, which is positive. The 20 had crossed the 50 in a golden cross back on the 7th of August. Then Royal Dutch came back, found support at the 50-day, and has now moved up. I would say in the short term we're slightly overextended from the moving averages, so some consolidation may be expected, and that's also showing on the RSI, which is above 70, 73.07, so also slightly overbought, but looking, apart from that, looking good technically. MACD as well, short term above long term above zero, and very bullish and indicative of upside momentum. On the 4-hour picture, again getting a bit overextended away from the moving averages, so some consolidation should be expected. We may have had a non-confirmation here on the RSI, as the high that we're achieving today is below the high that was achieved on the 26th, so be aware of that, and that would point to some short-term consolidation. Momentum slightly being lost on the MACD as they're flat lining. So overall on Shell, expect a short-term consolidation, but medium term does look positive. Moving on to Hurricane Energy. This share, you can see I did have an uptrend drawn on this share. Probably last time I looked at it on the video, we did break down through that uptrend, and then had the share price basically halved, came back down below 28. We've now bounced. On here you can see that we've bounced up to the 20-week moving average, which is moving down strongly, so that's a resistance level. That might cause some short-term indigestion, but you can see we are bouncing from an oversold level. The RSI, despite the move this week, is still only 42.61, and the MACD have just started to roll up below zero, but flashing a buy as the short-term crosses the long-term. If it wasn't for that resistance from the 20-week, it would look better. That might hold it for a week or two, but hopefully the momentum by then will be stronger and be able to break it. On the daily picture, To me, this looks better. You've got a basin pattern, which is always very good when a share price has come back. Hasn't bounced immediately. We've bottomed out, which is good. We've had a non-confirmation on the daily with a low that we achieved on the 13th of September. The RSI wasn't at a low and has progressed from there. Slightly overbought in the short term with the RSI at 70.05, but we are about to get the 20-day crossing the 50-day, moving up in a golden cross, which would give some impetus to the upside. What do we expect on the daily? Really, because of the overbought, maybe a few more days of consolidation, let that golden cross create, and then we can start to push higher again. The MACD are positive with the short term above the long term and above zero. On the 4-hour picture, here you can see that we're above all the moving averages. Perhaps the momentum is being lost slightly. Non-confirm on the 4-hour there, so maybe some more consolidation expected in the MACD as well, indicating that the differential's narrowing between the two and that further drift should be expected. So that's kind of qualifying what we said on the daily, slightly overbought, let there be a consolidation, and then hopefully we'll get the next move upwards. Okay, moving over to America. Costar Group, as I said, had a big secondary last night, which priced at 260. You can see I would expect the shares to go to around about 260 today, which will continue. This is the last week's trade in this last red bar, so we'll come down below the 20-week moving average. You can see this has broken the upside momentum that was in place and also broken the uptrend that was in place. So we're now seeing downside momentum, and that's confirmed with the MACD, with the short term now below the longer term. On the daily, here you can see that the 20 has just crossed the 50-day, the yellow line crossing the blue line. That's a bearish sign for the medium-term picture, and expect the 20 to now crack down and will become resistance on any rally. As I said, today I'd expect it to come off open at around the 260, around the price of the pricing of the secondary. There is support down there, and we would be slightly oversold at that level, so there could be a short-term bounce back up to 270, 275, but the medium-term picture looks slightly bearish because of the bearish cross that we're going to get on the 20 and the 50. MACD as well have just cracked down and are shouting a sell. On the 4-hour, there's slight support coming in from the 200 on the 4-hour, even though we are below that level. That will still be giving support. When slightly oversold on here as well, 34.3, and that will be very oversold if we do come down to 260 today, and the MACDs are confirming the downside momentum. Okay, finally moving on to Microsoft. We've looked at all the other FANGs this week. Now we're looking at one, obviously a FANG Plus stock, which is Microsoft. Still seems to be in its uptrend on this weekly chart. So here each candle represents 1 week, still moving above the 20-week moving average, very much in the uptrend, in the middle of the uptrend, middle to just below middle on the uptrend. So that's positive. You can see momentum still ticking along as positive, with the RSI 63.71 and the MACD just flatlining at a high level. On the daily, you can see we're finding support from the rising 50-day moving average. The 20 is still above the 50. You can see this long trend that we've had The 50 keeps coming to give support. The 20 hasn't gone below the 50 all year. That would be the sign that the trend has broken, so just stay with it for the moment. We are losing upside momentum on the daily. RSI has just dipped below 50, 49.51, and it's in a downtrend, and the MACD are confirming this downside momentum at the moment. So slight warning signs, but we've had these warning signs previously this year, and then it's bounced back up. So just keep your eye on the 50-day and the 20. And as I said, if the 20 crosses the 50 moving down, that's the sign that the trend has broken. On the 4-hour, we're slightly below the 54-hour. The 20 is moving down. It's not so important if the 20 moves below the 50 on this. Again, we're seeing negative momentum with the RSI down at 46.11 and in a downtrend, and likewise the MACD. So that's been TA for traders. Very quickly looking at 4 stocks. Royal Dutch looked okay. Hurricane, short-term resistance from that downtrending 20-week, and some consolidation expected, but should move higher after that. CSGP, Costar, looks vulnerable, especially if we do go down to that 260 level today, but it would be short-term oversold, so short-term bounce, but medium-term bearish. Microsoft remains in its uptrend. Stay with it until that 20-day crosses the 50-day. Many thanks for watching. Please remember these videos are for information only and are my opinions, and they're not an investment recommendation.